people are shutting business. A friend of mine let 400 staff go. He's part of theme parks. He just had to let them go. He had to make that decision because he couldn't carry the cash flow. Now, the government are helping, but there's a lot of headline grabbing here. There's no actual detail on when they're going to get support. Where do you think this is going, Patrick, with the economy on the business side? Because there's a lot of people very, and normally they're worried at the moment.
Yeah, and they should be. I mean, listen, I can't sit here and just say, oh, don't worry about everything. I'm going to give you different perspectives so everybody kind of sees it from a different view. There's three different types of people right now with the economy that we're experiencing. The first kind are those that are relying on the government to bail them out. I mean, they're not ready for it. They are scared, and the government needs to bail them out. And quite frankly, in the U.S., they're saying they're going to give unemployment or whatever for 39 weeks. During those 39 weeks, those people who get bailed out, they're not going to change. They're going to stay the same. Meaning, they're not going to pick up books behind them or behind yours and just start reading books to say, I don't ever want this thing to happen to me again, ever. I don't want to go through this again. They're just going to live life the same way, watch Netflix, play video games, do whatever they're going to do. Second kind of groups of people that we have are those that are prepared for it. They're not being affected by it at all, whatsoever. They are losing money, but they're not losing sleep, worrying about they're going to be fine. If this thing goes like this for 5 more years, they're fine because they have cash in place.
Yeah.
And they've been prepared for a time like this. Those guys are not worried about it. The third group are those who are going through this, and this is their first time experiencing a black swan, white swan, whatever you want to call it, where this came out of nowhere. And those are the people, certain things happen to how many people that are millionaires, that when you ask them what was the motivation to want to become a millionaire, they say, I grew up being poor. I told myself I will never be poor. Dave Chappelle, who's a comedian, said, we grew up so poor. I screamed at my dad one time saying, I will never be poor. I will be a millionaire, because he hated being poor. You got a lot of people that don't want to be poor. You're going to have certain people today that will say, this will never happen to me again. I'll never be surprised like this ever again. They're going to take saving cash more seriously.
Yeah.
They're going to pay attention to the words emergency fund more seriously today than ever before. And they're going to realize the value of setting money aside and not buying everything that you see during times like this, because it's critical, right? So let's set that part aside. Let's bring back to your entrepreneurs that you're talking about. There's a reason why it's important for a company to be sitting on a lot of cash. And you hear a lot of people online that say cash is trash, cash is trash, cash is trash. You know who's saying cash is trash today? Nobody. No one is saying cash is trash today. Not a single content creator is saying cash is trash today. Not a single one. Why? Because cash is not trash.
Yeah.
Because we have to have some cash. If you got a wife and kids, you got to have some cash. If you got employees, you got to have some cash. If you're trying to hire people and make sure you're prepared for a rainy day, you got to have some cash. So sometimes you go raise money because you're raising money to invest into some technology and to hire more expansion, all the expansion capital, all this other stuff. Sometimes you're raising money to have cash for a rainy day. And these are the times where it's important to have cash. When we went and raised money, and people are like, well, let's put that $6 million over here. Let's put that $4 million over here. Let's invest it. I said, no. I want to keep this much cash. We don't need that much cash. I guarantee you we're going to need this much cash.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. You're too conservative. No, I'm not conservative. I'm just telling you. You got to have cash. So there's going to be this whole bailout conversation, right? The 2008 bailout versus today's bailout. The bailout's really going to help a lot of Americans out. Well, first of all, the bailout's set up to bail out bigger companies, the too big to fail companies, which they're really worried about, right? And there's two schools of thought with bailout. The bailout thought back in the days when an 08 happened and they gave all that money was, you shouldn't have bailed them out. Why? Because Ford would have bought GM. Well, do you want Ford to have a monopoly? No, we want GM to handle their finances better. Okay. If there was no 2008, AIG would have probably been bought out by somebody else. Because of the bailout, Bank of America bought Countrywide. Chase bought WAMU. You saw a lot of those things taking place. Bear Stearns went out of business. Some of these companies went out of business. And I don't think it's a bad idea to allow some companies to go out of business. It's a filtering system. I don't think it's a bad idea to allow some other companies to buy the other companies pennies on a dollar because they lack discipline, and the ones who buy have a little bit more discipline. Why don't you give them the opportunity to buy things on sale because they were able to save money, and you don't need to bail them out through the government, because some of these companies, they're sitting around like kids where, you know, the father or the mother that every time the kid screws up, they bail them out every single time. How many times are you going to bail out that kid until he learns? I had a guy that came up to me, a pastor, a very well-known pastor who changed my life. He came up to me and one day we had a conversation together about his son. And he wanted to do so much for his son. He loves his son so much. And he says, man, what did your dad do with you that I can't do with my son? I said, my dad and you both love their sons the same. No one loves the other son more. I said, your approach of loving your son was through bailing him out and money. You did not let him drop to the ground and lose everything. I went to my dad one day, I was in debt $49,000. I said, Dad, I want you to bail me out my $49,000. He says, I'm going to do one of the best things anyone's ever going to do in your life. You're going to learn how to be a man or you're going to lose it all. He says, what's that? He says, I'm not giving you a penny. I said, what kind of a dad are you? He says, you got to figure out a way to get out of this $49,000 debt. I said, I need some money from you. Not going to bail you out. What kind of a thing? What are you talking about? Not going to bail you out. Do you realize I was so pissed to my dad? I didn't talk to my dad for 1 month. 1 month. And we lived together. I didn't talk to him for we were roommates. Didn't talk to him for 1 month. A month later, I kind of realized what he was doing, that his position, he was staying firm. And I knew how painful it was for his son to not want to talk to him, because I love my kids. I would be very hurt if my kids don't want to talk to me. But then look what he produced. You know, those are the things that we don't see behind closed doors. So we got to kind of be realizing that some people don't belong to, everybody wants to be called an entrepreneur, but some people just don't need to be entrepreneurs. Some people need to be more number 2, number 3, number 4 people in a company as intrapreneur, but it's not everybody's job to be an entrepreneur, and times like this filter those people out. I hate to say that. It's just that's what it is. Now, on the opportunity side, billionaires are going to be produced. New billionaires are going to be born. New heroes are going to be born. People you read about 5, 10 years from now and how they created their wealth are going to do it during times like this.